Let's now switch gears and take you to South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has suspended the police minister. He's also launched a judicial inquiry into Senzo Mchunu after explosive claims that the minister interfered with investigations into political killings and colluded with criminal networks. In allegations that shocked the nation, the police commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal province alleged that Mchunu disbanded a key task force probing over 100 politically motivated murders. The scandal has sparked political uproar, with opposition parties saying they want Mr. Mchunu criminally investigated and Parliament to step in. The ANC says it supports the inquiry but insists that due process must be followed. The case revives long-standing concerns about political interference in policing and puts Ramaphosa's anti-corruption credentials to the test. This is what some South Africans are saying.
If you are going to go ahead and protect a person like this and then you give us this verdict, you're telling us that you're giving this person leave of absence, this person is going to get paid to stay home. If he wants to continue with whatever he was doing, he's going to do it while he's getting paid by you and getting paid by the people who are involved in this case.
This is an emergency that needs somebody that is decisive. We're also of the view that this commission will delay the criminal justice systems to be effected in these aspects. Because when a person has been indicted as a criminal, then all protocols must be followed. Let it not be that people now are surviving through commissions.
And earlier I spoke to Ivor Chipkin from the New South Institute. This is a public policy think tank that's based in Johannesburg. I first asked him how unusual or typical was this kind of alleged interference in South African policing.
I think it's widespread. It's been widespread for a long time. We've known about this for at least the last 15 years, especially during the period of what we called in South Africa state capture. Various scholars, including the people like Mark Shaw, who's played an important role in South Africa, and others, have documented how in the first decade after apartheid, incredibly progressive measures were taken to re-professionalize the South African police, to align it with South Africa's constitutional and democratic values and spirit, and enormous progress was made in that regard. And what you also see at the same time was a huge decline in criminality of crime in South Africa. Around 2000, though, we saw steps to move away from that path and to appointment of a minister who went quite far in repoliticizing the police. When the ANC encountered its own huge internal challenges and conflicts from around 2009, 2010, so the internal conflicts in the ANC played themselves out within the police itself. And essentially, the police started functioning and being called to function as local militia, private militia, bodyguards for various politicians involved in quite extraordinary competition and conflict with each other. So the ANC, in that sense, got drawn into the African National Congress's own internal conflicts and its own internal dynamics. We have not interrupted that dynamic within the police, even though politically there have been massive political consequences for the African National Congress, most dramatically expressed in the last year's election, where the ANC lost its majority in Parliament.
Let's talk about some of the specifics of the actions by the president, launching a judicial inquiry, suspending the minister. In your view, from where you sit, is this a meaningful step towards accountability or just political damage control?
I think this judicial inquiry in this regard is just an opportunity to delay any real action. We've had a judicial inquiry with regard to state capture. We know what's going on. This seems to me a delaying tactic.
You know, this inquiry follows the long, State Capture Commission, which produced many findings but few prosecutions, and that's been one of the challenges many have spoken about. What would real reform look like, first within the police, but more broadly around the concerns around state capture?
So there are a whole range of proposals around reforming the South African police. They're well known. There are experts in that field which have been writing about this and talking about this for a while. They're quite well known. They go to including things like rebuilding South Africa's detective services, providing resources back to police stations, providing basic resources for ordinary policing. So there are a whole range of concrete steps. On my reading, though, the major obstacle to the implementation of those proposals remains a deeply politicized political leadership of the police. And until we tackle that, All these other steps are just talk. It's just lip service to a whole range of proposals. And in that regard, I can only see in the current situation that Parliament, the South African Parliament, needs to step up and take charge of this very, very dangerous situation.
Well, you